Hey you all, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about something really important, and is how to create deep alignment within your chakras. 10 steps that you need to know when you work with the chakras. And I want to say, first of all, that those 10 steps are not linear. However, they all can be really helpful for you on your own journey of creating deep harmony and balance within yourself, within your body, within your energy centers, and then watch your life unfold magically around you. And again, of course, there's a lot of layers. Actually, I made a YouTube video. My last YouTube video that I made was things you need to know and key insights before you start working with the chakras, and why working with the chakras is important. So I'm going to put it up here as well as in the description below. I first want to start by saying that if you are someone who wants to dive deep into working with your chakras and really be involved, which is something that I talked about on my last YouTube video, and I'm going to elaborate on that in this YouTube video. But if you're someone who is seeking to feel harmony and balance within your chakras and create an alignment within your chakras and be an open channel for your higher self to come in and guide you and be in alignment with the things that you want to manifest in your life, be in alignment with who you truly are in your essence, then I want to invite you to check out my website in the description below. You can book a quick discovery call with me, and I would love to support you on this journey, your healing or awakening journey, or both. I really like to mix the two because they're both very important. And if we are good energetic match, I would love to work with you. So check out in the description below. So first of all, I want to start by saying that this journey is not a linear journey. Chakras are energy centers, and energy is multidimensional, and there's an infinite layers. And it's not like you, basically, in other words, it's not like you're going to open your root, balance and heal your root chakra, and that's it. You're done with your root chakra forever, and now you can move on and you get to a place where it's all fixed. As much as it would be nice, but there's always more layers that you can go into. However, to me, what I found on my journey, there is a basic, like a baseline. There is a basic place where you start to feel gratitude, where you start to feel like everything that's happening in your life is happening for you, where you start to become more aware, where you start to be more open, and you start to get like you start to learn how to surf the waves. You have all the tools, and then you start to really learn how to surf it, and then it can even be kind of enjoyable, even when it's uncomfortable, because there's always uncomfortable aspects in the human experience. Even if it gets uncomfortable, you have the tools and you know how to surf the waves, and it can be kind of enjoyable, or maybe not enjoyable, but you are okay with being uncomfortable. There's a sense of you're collecting data. So I really would like to talk about this, because the more you go deeper and deeper into the healing and awakening journey, you start to have an understanding of how things work and what happens when you, for example, if you have stuck repressed emotion, and what happens when you go into this emotion and you fully process it. And maybe it's going to be scary or jarring in the beginning, but then you learn, oh, when I'm doing this, it moves something. It gets me closer to remembering who I am. It brings me more overall peace and well-being. So you basically collect data. This is how I like to look at it, because in the beginning of my journey, there was a lot of things that were really scary, and still are. There are still a lot of things that are scary. However, now I have more courage and more understanding of how things work, and I have more just like kind of jumping into it. It's like oh, I already like have data for how it worked, how it worked in the past. And it's like, it's already, you have like a toolbox of tools that are actually, you actually tried it, you actually experienced it. And then one thing I do want to say too here is that a lot of, you can hear that from me. I'm sure you heard this maybe from a lot of people. And it's one thing to hear it from someone else, or to read it in a book, or to hear it in a podcast. It's a whole another thing when you actually get to experience it for yourself. So everything I'm saying, if you're someone who actually experienced it, Please let me know in the comments below if you know what I'm talking about. And by the way, please like this video because it's really going to help the algorithm if you like this. So the best way to learn is through experience. And the best way to teach others is through embodying an example. Okay, let me repeat that. The best way to learn is through your own experience. And the best way to teach others, if you have people in your life that you really want them to dive into the healing journey or whatever it is that you want them to do, the best way to teach others is through embodying an example. It's really hard to do sometimes, especially if you really love people in your life and you really want them to be happy. But I've learned the hard way. Best way to teach is through embodying an example. And I'm still falling to the trap of trying to, save people. And this is what I found over and over and over again. It's not working. So now let's dive into the 10 steps that you need to know, 10 things that you need to know when you start working with your chakras. Now, I mentioned in the last video, and I'll just kind of touch on it here real quick. A lot of times I'll hear people say, oh yeah, I work on my chakras, I do all the things. And then I like ask them, oh, what do you do? What do you do when you work on your chakras? And a lot of times they'll tell me, oh, I meditate, I chant, I use crystals, I go to a sound healing to open and align my chakras, I go to a Reiki or energy healer. And like I mentioned in the other videos, while all these practices are amazing and you can really take them and apply it to your journey and really amplify everything that you do like 10x times, but it's not the actual work. The actual work takes for you to be fully engaged and participate in your own healing and in your own work, in your own inner work. And so when I talk about when we work with the chakras, this is exactly how it comes. You can't outsource it. You can't do, just like go to someone else to energy healer and align your chakras and then you're going to be fine. It's like the image I see when I think about it, it's like almost like you just kind of like fix, quote unquote, the surface of this feeling. Because what happens is you don't like dive deep into the chakras, you don't dive deep into your own healing work. And I'll explain in a little bit what exactly I mean when I say this. So what happens is that you can feel great and you can feel lighter for like 2-3 days, and then someone triggers you, third day, and then bam, everything is out of whack again, because it was only like work that you did on the surface. And I'm going to say it many times, energy is multidimensional. It's infinite layers. The depth that you can go into each and every energy center in your body, and I'm talking specifically about the 7 main energy centers, because this is what I mentioned. This is what I'm going to be talking about on my YouTube videos. Those are the 7 main energy centers that I personally work with. Of course, same thing with the other energy centers, but it's infinite. And the amount of layers and depth that you can go into each and every energy center is literally infinite. I mean, it's just crazy the depth that it can take you to. So like those practices can be great. However, if you really want to create a strong, solid foundation and balance within you, like inside of you, like deep inside of you, you have to be fully engaged in your process. You have to become aware and like interact with your own work. Okay, so here are the 10 steps and 10 things that you need to know when you work with the chakras. Number 1, awareness. Awareness, you probably hear me saying this a lot on my videos. Awareness is more than 75% of your process. Once you are aware, you have something to work with. If you're not aware of what's happening in your root chakra, if you're not aware of what you're carrying within your body, of what emotions are repressed from generational stuff, you can't work with it. You have nothing to work with because you're not aware of it. So number 1 thing, most important thing, 75% of the process is you have to be aware of what's happening in your energy centers. So for example, especially if you work with your chakras, for example, you're someone, that's a really common one. You're someone that have a lot of negative programmings around money. Okay, so this is an element that shows up in our root chakra. Okay, so root chakra is associated with safety, security, stability. By the way, in the description below, there's the free chakra guide that you can download for free. That it has all the characteristics. Of course, there's a lot of YouTube videos on YouTube on the characteristics of every chakra, and this is why I prefer to not solely talk about that, because there's so much information, and also the free chakra guide, you can grab it below. But for example, going back to my example, root chakra, negative programmings around money. So if you're not even aware that you have negative programmings around money, like let's say you're someone who is scared to check your finances. You don't even know why you're scared, but you kind of avoid it. You're just not looking at it, you're not checking it, and you just kind of like, maybe you don't even know that there's fear. Maybe you avoid it and you're not even aware that there's fear there, and you haven't got the chance to even go into the fear to be curious about what this fear is about, where did it come from. But in this case, there is something around finances, an energetic around finances, probably generational thing, maybe collective, maybe societal stuff that you're carrying within your root chakra around finances. And if you're not even aware of the fact that you have that the fact that you have some kind of programming, some kind of negative programming around money that you're carrying within your root chakra, you can't work on it because you're not even aware of it. So maybe by you watching this video and you see me doing, like saying this, you're like, oh wow, maybe that's kind of interesting. Maybe there's something there for me to look at, right? So like, if you are now heard it and you're like, oh, this is interesting, I really want to look into it, and then you kind of dive into it in whatever way, shape, or form you're doing it, whether if you have a coach that you're working with, a healer, a therapist, maybe you're meditating, maybe you're whatever it may be, maybe you do breath work, whatever it is that specifically that you want to work with, then now you're like, okay, that's interesting. Now it's in your field. Now there's something that I said now that it's maybe in your awareness, and now you're like, oh, I think there's maybe something here. Let me look at it, right? So that's the first step. Now you're aware to it, if it's resonating with you. And I don't want to say negative programmings around money. It's something that most of us as humans carrying. And like I said it on my Instagram the other day. It doesn't mean that it's only people who are struggling in making money. Negative programmings around money can be scarcity around money. For example, one example, maybe fear of success, maybe fear of failure, right? So, and whatever else, like maybe you grew up in a house where you were told that money doesn't grow on trees, or money's evil, or money's doing, whatever it is. So whatever the programmings are, there's something there that I mean, and again, like there's a lot of people that have a shit ton of money and like they're really wealthy, but they still have negative programmings around money. They still have like intense scarcity of lack. They really come from a place of lack, right? And I'm not gonna go too much into the whole topic. I'm gonna make a whole YouTube video about that, because this is a lot of the work that I'm doing with clients, specifically around financial, around money in the root chakra. So number one, you really have to be aware, right? Like this is the foundation of your entire work. Number two, intention. Okay, so intention is huge when you work with energy. And if you're someone who is working with energy, if you're someone that's doing yoga, maybe, if you're someone that is working with intention in your everyday life, you already know this. Intention is really powerful. When I say intention, let's say you are aware. I'm going to give you a different example. Let's say you are aware that there's something blocked for you sexually that is manifesting in your sacral chakra, because your sacral chakra is associated with your one-on-one relationships, intimacy, sexuality, sensuality, creativity, emotions. Let's say you feel like there's something blocked, sexually, like something doesn't, maybe you're someone who went through sexual trauma, right? So first, you have to be aware of what you're carrying in your sacral chakra. Number two, you have to set an intention. So you literally have, how when you start like dating someone and you have a crush on someone and you like can't stop thinking about it? This is how it needs to be when you work with your intention. Like you have to keep your intention in the back of your mind 24/7. around what is it that you want to work on. And then let the universe do the rest. Literally, all you need to do is you have to set your intention to let the universe know what is it that you want to work on, what is it that you intend to, and it's just going to come to you in like ways that you could never even invent. Don't worry about how you're going to go there, because it's just going to come to you. Maybe you run into my video, maybe you run into this video, maybe you go to a sound healing class one evening and then bam, you have a huge thing there. Maybe you went to a breath work that, you know, something just opened up for you. So don't worry about how you're going to do it, but I do want to invite you to answer the call. If you're noticing that you're running into something and you're like, have this like, you know, gentle pull, like you feel drawn to this thing or to this person. It could be even like, let's say you go on a coffee with your coworker and bam, all of a sudden you have a whole conversation that goes really deep, and then you know, you get a lot of insights and you get a lot of like, oh wow, like nuggets, like a lot of they call it asimonofel in Hebrew. It's like the token is like, you know, something, there's some insight, there's some downloads that you receive from just a random conversation, even with like someone that you don't even know. You'll never know where it's going to come from. That's really what I'm trying to say. When you work with intention, you want to like really have that intention in the back of your mind 24/7, like I said, like as much as you can. And with every single thing that you're doing, especially if it's things that are associated with that specific energy center. So I'm gonna go a little bit deeper into it, but there's a lot of tools that you can utilize for each energy center, which, by the way, like I said, you can find it in the description below in my chakra guide, because all of these things are in my chakra guide. So for example, in the sacral chakra, you use like specific tools that are for the sacral chakra to amplify your intention. So when you eat certain foods, when you know, maybe you use certain crystals, maybe you go and do yoga, maybe you go for a sound healing, and you just bring your intention into whatever it is that your intention. It's not just like whatever, I'm just floating around. You have an intention of like, okay, I noticed this theme in my life that's coming up. This is what I feel called to work on. This is what feels, maybe you're noticing some things around self-worth. So that would be more solar plexus, third energy center. Maybe like some communication thing that's like, maybe that's your theme, right? And I'm not going to talk about like the order that you want to work on, because I talked about it in my last YouTube video. So feel free to check it out in the description below. Next thing, step number 3 is make a statement. Okay, so formulate a specific statement specifically with what it is that you're working on. So here's an example. For example, my intention, like here's a sentence. My intention is to balance and heal my root chakra, specifically my sense of safety in my body and in the world. Bam, that's an example. Or for example, my intention is to balance and heal my sacral chakra, specifically heal my sexual trauma so I can fully step into my sexuality and my sensuality. One more example. And you can also add micro sentences. You can add, you can move, you can work with like literally anything that you experience, like from stress, anxiety, depression, to emotional eating, negative body image, to finding your partner. So like, for example, if you're someone who's really looking for your soulmate, right? That would be like a sacral chakra thing. So my intention is to balance and heal my sacral chakra, specifically my intimate, like this energy around intimate relationship. Maybe there is some codependency. Maybe it's associated maybe with like some solar plexus, like really stepping into my power and like to being able to attract someone that is in that same frequency, right? So you can like add micro sentences and you can really make it your own. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You're not gonna mess it up. You're not gonna, it's whatever. Actually want to invite you, like make it your own, make it yours, make it like however feels right for you, whatever feels, okay, this feels good to me. And use this sentence, use this statement first thing in the morning and before or during you do different practices. So let's say if you have like a specific intention for your root chakra, and you eat root vegetables or you eat like a red apple, have that intention when you do it. Like let's say you go to the gym and you work out, it's very physical, it's very root chakra, even sacral. Like root chakra is very structured, so maybe strength training. You go to the gym and your intention before, as you work out, is to open and balance your root chakra, specifically, let's say your sense of security and your relationship with money. Okay, so this is really important, and it's really going to add a lot, especially when you pair the statement with intention and with the awareness. Like this is super powerful. Those three things right there is a huge part that whenever people talks about like, you know, start working with your energy centers and like really open and balance your chakras, no one talks about that. No one talks about awareness, intention, and make a statement. And this would be the main things that you want to focus on, really. Like even if you just did this, it's going to lead you to the right places. Okay, so next steps. Number 4 is acknowledge and be present. This is really big. Like, so a lot of times when you're diving into the healing work, a lot of times we treat ourselves as a problem to fix. Like there's nothing, like there's something to fix, we're broken, we need to fix ourselves. And this is honestly, this is a trap. This is a cycle where people can get stuck forever. Like my aunt, who's my spiritual guided mentor, she has been in this work of, you know, healing and awakening since the 80s. So like, you know, a while ago. And she has said to me that she has been seeing people that's been like doing the work for 40 years and they still work on the same wound. They still work on the same traumas. They're like stuck in the cycle of fixing. And this is why like to pair the healing with the awakening journey is really important. And I actually made a few YouTube videos about it, but I'm going to talk a lot about it more in my YouTube video. Actually, I'm going to link one in the description below where I mentioned that thing. So acknowledge and be present. Simply acknowledging and being present with what's arising. If you have an emotion that wants to come up, if you are noticing some emotion or some feeling, or you're noticing like maybe there's something that's coming up from your childhood, like inner child work, and there's nothing to fix, just acknowledge it and be present. If you're noticing a specific pain in your body, like physical pain, because you know every area in your body is associated with different energy center. So let's say you have pain in your chest, right? That's associated with your heart chakra. And it's not about like fixing it or removing it or finding the next, like removing. You don't need to remove anything. Just acknowledge it and be present with it and be curious about it and try to actually have a relationship with it. But this is like more down the line. This is what I do with my clients. Like we really going into the body and like really start having intimacy and relationship with different things that are showing up within the body. But for you, first step, just acknowledge and be present with it. Just give it space to be here. This is super important. Not trying to fix or change anything, just give it space. And that by itself, a lot of times when I work with clients, sometimes just when we acknowledge something that comes up, oh, I notice like some really like tight feeling in the left side of my stomach, and just when they acknowledge it and they're being present with it, bam, something is shifting energetically. It's like literally moving around. So this is a really powerful step. Next step, number 5, is embrace your feelings. Allow yourself to feel whatever the F that you need to feel. If you feel shame, if you feel rage, if you feel grief, if you feel whatever, and I'm saying like the more like uncomfortable emotions on purpose, because those are like pain, all of these emotions that are uncomfortable, that are a little bit more dense, like those are the emotions that we don't feel comfortable feeling. And it's really important for you to be able to feel those emotions, because emotions are just energy in motion. And a lot of people say positive emotions and negative emotions. To me, I don't see it this way. Emotions are just emotions. And it's just energy, and energy just wants to move. So if you feel guilt, shame, rage, pain, discomfort, lostness, confusion, numbness, disconnection, whatever it is that you're feeling, let yourself be in the emotion. Let yourself feel it instead of move away from it. Fear too. I mean, there's a ton. But the idea is that there's no good or bad emotions. Of course, the more light emotions, like they feel like better. They feel good to feel them. Like it's way more fun to feel joy and playfulness and happiness and bliss than pain. But a lot of this, I mean, yeah, like I do want to validate that. That's like, this is not what I'm saying. Like it is obviously way more comfortable and feel better to feel those emotions that are more light. But the more dense emotions are also emotions, and energy just wants to move. Energy just wants to move. And if you don't feel your emotions, like if you don't let your emotions move through your body and just like being moved through you, what happens is that they stay stuck in your body, and this stuckness creates stuckness in your energy body. It creates like lack of flow, lack of balance, and then it manifests in your life in different ways. Maybe a lot of times you can manifest emotional eating. Maybe a lot of times it's going to be depression, anxiety, it can be stress, it can be fear, it can be a ton of different things, you know. And when you start fully have a relationship with your emotions and letting yourself feel your emotions without needing to rationalize it or label it. And honestly, I'll be honest with you, I'm the kind of person that I was numb my entire teenager years. And when I started feeling like working with my coach, she was a somatic coach. When I started working in with her like 5 years ago, and I didn't even know what is it that I'm feeling. And I still don't know to say like, oh, I feel sad. Maybe sometimes I do, but like sometimes I'll feel a feeling that I'm not really sure what I'm feeling, but I can feel how it feels in my body. So for example, I can say like, oh, I feel like red fuzzy ball in my chest. Because this is the way that I learned how to literally, this is how I learned how to feel my emotions. And I can't label them sometimes, and that's okay. But at least I know, I'm aware, okay, like now I can feel like the shame that I'm feeling in my stomach. I feel in my stomach and it feels like tension. It feels like a rubber band that is like super tight. This is what it feels like for me, shame. Or when I get triggered, there's like poof, something goes inside my stomach that's like goes like something goes off, you know? And like, and it's not about like just acknowledging it, you know, like that was the one before, like the number 4 step, but also let it be here. Like let it move through you. Let it like let yourself feel it fully. And when I say let it yourself fully, like feel it fully, like sometimes I'll say like sometimes you'll have like grief, for example, and you know, grief, sadness, and a lot of people like hovering around like grief. It's like hovering above. Like they're not fully go into the depth of it. They're not fully present with it. They're just hover. So that creates like it's always there for weeks, for months, for years, for your entire life pretty much, because you never fully processed your emotion. You never fully went into the emotion all the way being present with it. And what I found on my own journey is that when I fully 100% let myself fully be in the emotion, whatever the emotion it is, where I'm fully in it and I go all the way, almost I'm like as I'm feeling it, let's say I feel deep sadness, as I'm in it, I'm like almost have curiosity of like, where does it end or where does it begin? Like how deep can I go into it? Fully present in it. And then when it finished, when I fully processed the emotion, it's like 1 second that's it. I like all of a sudden, okay, I'm done. That's it. I fully processed it. And this is, to me, this is how I personally know that I fully process an emotion, where I'm like fully in it and then bam, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm good now. And you know, when we look at the chakras, the energy centers, like emotions are starting in the sacral chakra, in the second energy center, and they also move through the heart and a lot of times through the throat too. And of course, you know, really all of them, because fear can manifest in the root. And, you know, there's like, again, they're not separated. The chakras are not separated. They all work together, and it's not black or white. But for example, in this case, there are a lot of people that are feeling overwhelmed by emotions. And what happens in terms of energy, like how it looks or how it like actually work in terms of your energy center, is that your sacral chakra is a little bit too open in one aspect. And again, I kind of elaborated on that a little bit more in my last YouTube video. So again, you can go and watch it. But when that aspect of your sacral chakra is too open, it's going to cause you to feel overwhelmed and you can't fully process your emotion. You're just overwhelmed by your emotion, and it takes away from your root chakra, which in this case is your solid foundation, is your stability, your stability. So in this case, you want to bring your sacral chakra to your natural, like to its normal size, and then strengthen your root chakra. And when you strengthen your root chakra, you strengthen your safety and security within you, and you create instability, and you create a solid foundation within you. So when you create, after you create a solid foundation within you, you're more resilient and you're more able to fully dive into your emotions and to fully process your emotions all the way to the depth of it, because you have that solid foundation within you. So you don't get overwhelmed by your emotions because your root is pretty solid and strong. So this is an important piece around emotions, because I feel like it's important here. If you're someone that feels overwhelmed by emotions, then there's an energetic kind of a specific structure or energy to it in your energy centers. Number 6, the next step, inner child work, integrating your inner child. Okay, this is super important. A lot of times when we work with energy, like there are in sessions, like your younger self is going to come up. Whatever it is that's manifesting in your energy centers, whatever area in your life, it is related to your childhood, because all of our energy centers are being developed in our childhood, right? I mean, the first one, the root chakra, is being developed but when we're still in our mother's womb, and that's where we already start to like encode information. So it's really important to not only solely work with your chakras, with the energy, but to fully bring it and translate it into your physical body and into your physical experience on this earth. And that means a lot of inner child work. And especially when you do your inner child work and you pair it with your intention and with your awareness of what's happening in your chakras, and you kind of bring it all together, it's really powerful. And you can feel, like you can literally feel the shifts in your body within seconds. Like this is something I do with my clients all the time. Like, I mean, session can go into literally millions of different directions, but one thing that's really common in our sessions is inner child work. And again, remember, even if you dive into inner child work, let's say you feel called to do some inner child work and you want to check out some kind of meditation for inner child. By the way, I made a meditation for inner child, so I'm going to put it up here and also in the description below. But if you're working with your inner child, also before you reframe, because there's like all this like reframe, and I think it's really powerful, and I think there's time and space for that for sure. But before you go and fix the situation, what happened when you were a child, first be with your inner child. Just fully presently be. Not trying to fix or change anything, because we live in a society when we're all trying to fix. And our biggest wound is that we were alone in those experiences. Like it's not about changing the fear to not exist. It's about your inner child feeling the fear and they were alone in it. So now before we create something new and before we shift and reframe, or transmuting, as I really love doing, but first being with. First step is being with, not changing, not fixing. Go to your inner child, be with them, ask them, what do you want to tell me? I want to listen to you. I want to know. I want to feel, and really fully let yourself feel. Like almost imagine as if you are in a boat with them together in the feeling that they're experiencing, whether if it's confusion or whatever it may be. So that's a super important step. Step number 7 is shadow work. Shadow work. If you don't know what shadow work is, I've created a shadow work workbook where you can really dive into shadow work, whether if you're a beginner, whether if you're someone who's done a lot of shadow work, because you can use it for anything that's coming for you in your life. The idea is to confront your shadows, meaning like you first become aware. In order for you to work on your shadow, you have to be aware of your shadows, and you're bringing them into the light and you integrate them. Okay, so first of all, what are shadows? Shadows is everything that you're not aware of, anything that you avoid, anything that you disown, you judge, you reject about different parts of yourself. So a lot of times, all of us, we all have darkness inside of us, and there are certain things that we really don't want to look at. And I'm giving about the like shadow doesn't necessarily mean darkness, because one of my shadows, and I think it's a huge shadow for a lot of people, one of my shadows that I realize is to be seen in my light. So being seen in my light is something that I was avoiding, that I didn't feel comfortable with, that I didn't want to like be with, right? And it's something that I've been working on. I still work on it. I mean, for me to make these videos is for me like to work on this shadow, by the way. So working with the shadows is to bring them out of here into the front and look at them and put a flashlight on them. So I heard someone says that once. I don't remember where I heard it, but they brought an analogy that was really like really great. So imagine there's a castle. There's a whole castle with like many rooms. And maybe there's one room that's dark, that this is what you see, this is what you know in your physical reality. And every room that you turn on the light, like if it's the light is off, it's dark, you don't know what's in the room, you can't see what's there. But once you turn on the light, you can see what's in the room. And the more lights, like rooms that you turn on the lights in, the more you're aware of all of the parts of you, and maybe why do you have certain patterns, and why do you have certain behaviors, and where did they come from. And especially when you do your shadow work, where you pair it with working on your chakras, it is so freaking powerful, because you are aware of what's happening in your energy centers. I'll give you an example. Let's see. So, okay, the first thing that's coming up for me is judgment. One thing that I have been working on my journey is judgment. And it's all just a reflection. So I would sometimes, it's not happening as much now. Sometimes it's still happening, and I can still catch myself and be like, oh, there it is. There's the shadow again, because now I'm aware of it, right? So there was this thing where like I wasn't even aware for a very long time, that every time I go on social media, I judge whatever I see. And one time I realized, like I was like noticing, like, wow, like why I'm just like noticing that I'm like doing this. Like, why am I doing this? This doesn't feel good. And then I realized like deeper that the part of me that's judging is part of me that like wants attention, that wants to be seen. Okay. And so I realized like there's also a way that I have been judging myself in this way. And it's just a reflection of what is happening internally. Now, there are so many people that goes on social media and they judge, because we live in a society where, you know, we see it everywhere, and it's like kind of like ingrained in our psyche, in our energy body, literally. Because what we're holding in our chakras and our energy body and physical body, it's not just our stuff. And it's not just our stuff from childhood. It's not just our stuff from generational and generations before. It's past lives, and it's also the collective. So whatever is happening in the collective, we're picking up energetically. And a lot of those things we're not even aware of, because it's like there's so much that we're carrying. So there's so much that we're not aware of, because there's so much that we're carrying that is not one specific, it's like a bunch of overlaps and over like layers. But I don't want to exhaust you with that. The main idea for me in this example is like, I was noticing that, whoa, okay, first I was aware, okay, this is happening. And then I'm like, okay, what's happening? There's like this part of me that like really wants to be seen, and like wants to be loved and accepted, which that's like heart chakra and solar plexus too. And now I'm like, okay, go to the energetics behind it and like work on what's happening energetically. And then that can be a whole process by itself. And you know, this is a lot of times what I do, you know, in sessions, whatever it is that's coming up that you want to work with. Usually it's like a little bit bigger things, but this is just an example. So when you bring your shadows out of the dark into the light, and you become aware of it, even though it seems scary, the thing is, when we don't do our shadow work, when we don't want to look into our shadows, and we're like, this doesn't exist, it grows. It grows. It's not like it's going to disappear if you keep ignoring it. It's going to continue to be there, and it's even going to grow until you're not. And this is why we live in a world where there's so much crap, because there's so much shadow. There's so much shadow in the collective that people don't want to look at. They don't want to feel. They don't want to look at. They don't want to acknowledge. So they completely ignore it. So the way to really shift humanity and like what's happening in the world is by us starting with doing our own inner work. Because this is how you impact. You don't impact by, oh, you need to do your shadow work, you need to do your shadow work, you didn't, like, fingers that way. It always goes this way, always goes internally. Like, however you're gonna show up for yourself and what the work that you're gonna do for yourself is what's going to make a difference. Okay, there's like nothing out there is gonna make the difference. And it's same things. There's a lot of layers. Like when we talk about shadow, for example, and you know, and chakras and all of these things, it's like, okay, it starts with me. There's so many layers and infinite depth to it, because and so the layers that I'm talking about, for example, is like, okay, I have my own personal shadow work, right? I have my own shadow, and maybe I have inside of me, I have parts that have shadows or things that I you know, that are there that I'm not aware of. And same thing goes to, like, let's say my family line, my entire family line. Oh, we have this pattern in my family. Maybe addiction, that's a huge one. Like, what's underneath the addiction? Where does it coming from? Like, what's the shadow there that's like wants to be coming to the to come to the surface? And you know, if you go a little bit wider, maybe it's country that you came from, culture, maybe it's race, maybe it's species. Our entire humanity has a lot of shadows. And for me as an Israeli and Jew, like I've actually talked about it in some of my YouTube videos, is there are a lot of shadows for us as Jewish people, just like every other race, because there's a lot of shadows and there's a lot of things that we need to confront, and we need to be aware of, and we need to feel, and we need to acknowledge. And this is how we can see a better world if we do it for ourselves. We're not supposed to go this way. We're supposed to like do it for our own self. And again, remember in the beginning what I said, the best way to teach is embodying an example. So if you do your work, if you do your inner work, if you do your shadow work, if you really go into the depth of your inner being, work on your chakras, you're automatically going to embody an example. You don't need to try. Like it's you don't need to speak and say, hey, I've done all this work, you know, I did this work, and you don't need to speak about it. It's something that you're going to embody. Like it's something that people are going to feel from you. It's like a felt sense. It's not something that you talk about, that you're trying to convince someone. It's like fully embodying what it is. Hope that makes sense. Step number 8. We're almost there. Video journaling and reflection. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is something that has been absolutely powerful for me on my journey. Video journaling is, okay, so I mean, of course you can always do regular journaling, like writing. This is something that's always available for you if you're someone who prefers to write. I personally I'm not into like writing. I'm not really into it, but so I started doing video journaling, and there are a few benefits that I found specifically with doing video journaling. So whether if you do your shadow work, whether if you you do maybe prompts for each energy center, like let's say around limiting beliefs from the groups you came from. Let's say you have a specific belief around religion, right? From where you came from, and you do prompts, and then, or your shadow work, and you do it in a video journaling way. First of all, you start a video and you record yourself. And honestly, you don't even need to do it in a way that you see yourself. Just do it the other way. The idea is to do the video and you don't even look at it. So I have a folder somewhere in my Google Drive, where I call it my documentary show. You can call it your healing journey. You can call it whatever it is, but it's there and you don't watch it. Maybe don't watch it for 5-10 years, and then you go back and watch it after 5 and 10 years. And it's really cool because not only it's documented and you're like, oh my God, I remember this house that I used to live in. Oh my God, I really changed a lot. Like, wow, I really changed a lot as a person. So not only that, but also the benefits of doing video is when you do video, you can really close your eyes and also like really feel what's happening in your body as you speak certain things. So for example, let's say you talk about the beliefs around religion and how it made you feel and how it impacted you in the world. And you talk about it. And as you talk about it, you feel some heaviness in your chest. And you're like, maybe feel some sadness. And then you just like let yourself be with it and feel it. And you just let yourself like fully like give it space to this thing that comes up, because talking is one way to move energy, but you can be more aware of your body and like what's happening in your body, and let your energy really move. Maybe you'll start crying. A lot of my videos, I just like start crying in the video. That's number one. Number two, the reason why I love doing video journaling is because when you speak out loud, you train and you balance your your throat chakra. You like learn to speak. You learn to you you literally open your throat chakra when you speak, because when you if you work on your throat chakra, you have to use your voice, whether if it's screaming or expressing emotion with sounds, or maybe it's singing, or maybe it's vocalizing or chanting or whatever it is, or speaking. So you learn, you open your, especially again, if you add that intention, if let's say you're noticing it's hard for you to communicate, maybe it's hard for you to post on social media your journey and things that you have value to give to the world, and you notice some blockage, this is a great place for you to practice. You just start a video and you just literally practice your throat chakra. This is one of the main reasons why I do YouTube videos. This is probably one of the main reasons, because I have a lot of my throat chakra is personally it's one of the chakras that are most problematic for me. And problematic, what I really mean is that they can get out it can get out of whack pretty easily. So one of my practices is to do YouTube and also do my own video journaling. But it is really powerful, especially if you have that intention in mind as you're going into this. And the third piece too is because when you speak out loud, you hear yourself. You speak out loud, and it's, first of all, speaking is faster than writing. So you speak and then you hear yourself, and then you're like, oh, as I'm speaking, oh, this is coming up and this is coming up, and whoa, I didn't even know this was there. What? And it's this is also what's happening for me all the time. So video journaling is a really powerful tool, and make yourself a folder somewhere, and don't watch it, just put it there, don't watch it, and then look at it a few years down the line, and just a little bonus, you'll have your journey will be documented, and you'll be whoa, I've come a long way. Because sometimes when we're on our own journey, we can't really notice the transformations. I mean, you maybe notice oh my God, 2 years ago I was a totally different person. But if you actually can see it on a video, and you can actually feel the energy and the vibes, oh my God, I remember this time of my life, it's just it's nice. It's just a little bonus. Okay. Number 9 is mindful engagement in practices. So remember in the beginning of the video, I talked about, if you do meditation, energy healing, if you go to breath work, if you do sound healing, yoga, you're not just doing it mindlessly. You actually have an intention of something that you work with. So this is a very, very, very powerful thing to add. But you want, if you have a powerful intention, and you have this statement, and you pair it with all these other things that we talked about, this is what I mean. It's gonna take your work into the a whole another level if you're gonna add all these things that we talked about. So engage in practices in a mindful way. This is really key. And number 10 and last is conscious use of tools. So remember, if you grabbed my free chakra guide in the description below, it'll have different crystals you can use for each energy center, different foods for each energy center, different essential oils, different incense. Okay, so all these tools, it's tools that are available there for you. Maybe you want to wear red, you work on your root chakra and you wear red. Maybe you put red crystals or red decor around your house for your intention for your root chakra. And again, everything is with intention. So when you decor your house, or when you eat certain food, or when you use certain crystals, you have the intention and you have everything else in place. So this is those tools, working with crystals and essential oils and, different colors, whatever it is, it's really powerful. But it's not powerful if you just do it just kind of whatever you're doing. If you do it with intention and you know exactly what is it that you're working on, and you just add it, it's amazing. I freaking love working with crystals and with essential oil and different colors, and I'll kind of feel, what is it that I'm feeling? I feel heart chakra vibes, so I'll just wear more green and just maybe put some green things around my house, or when you see certain colors, you can kind of connect that and be more intentional about it. This is all the 10 steps that you need to know. I'm curious to know Please let me know in the comments your thoughts, your things that you've tried, and how did you like this video? Was it helpful for you? Is there something that you would like me to go deeper into? I would really love to hear your feedback and to hear your thoughts. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have the most amazing year ahead, and just sending lots of love, and thank you for watching.